Welcome, all ye brave souls, to a hair-raising Halloween episode of A Shot of Business Central Handheld Beer. I'm Michael Intravartolo, and joining me lurking in the shadows is the ghost of Business Central's past, Mr. Ken Sebahar.
Good evening, Michael. Or should I say, ghoul of Business Central. I'm just here to keep things scary accurate today. This episode is packed with enough BC updates to raise the dead.
You said it, Count Sebahar. Today we're sinking our fangs into the latest Business Central news. So if you've got a weak heart, hold on tight. And Ken, they don't know it yet, but we're also stirring up some dark magic in our feature segment where we'll be summoning the ghostly tales of Business Central audits.
That's right. It's all treats, no tricks as we dig deep into audits. The good, the bad, things that might come back to haunt you if you're not careful. And after we talk about how to prepare for your audits, we have another special Halloween segment we'll be trying for the first time called Shot of Business Central, Shot or No Shot. So stay tuned to hear this creepy, cool segment that is guaranteed to send shivers down your spine in a good way.
And what kind of ghostly gathering would this be without a bit of liquid courage? Today's beer has a dark, twisted vibe, perfect for a Halloween episode. Stay tuned for some hilarious, haunting reviews and the official Beer Advocate score.
Grab your steaks, your garlic, or whatever else you need to survive this show, and let's dive into a shot of Business Central and a beer.
Well, Ken, it's time to talk beer. And I'm not going to lie, the beer that I have in front of me has a noisy white head to it.
So it says. Hey, Michael, how you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. How about you?
Good to be back with you. Yes, we are drinking today. I was put in charge of bringing in the beer.
You were.
And after, what are we at, 67 episodes or 68 episodes?
Yeah, I think this is 67.
Of all types of beers, I feel like I've gotten to the point where I want to drink good beer when we get together and talk Business Central.
I agree. We might even have to start going back and maybe doing some of the same beers over that we enjoyed in the past.
Yeah. So today we're drinking a beer from a Maplewood Brewery, which is a local Chicago brewery in the Logan Square neighborhood, about 10 years old. The beer is called Charlatan.
Yes.
It is an American pale ale. So not an IPA, India Pale Ale, but an APA.
Yeah. Which is still in your wheelhouse, right? I mean, you prefer the IPA, I think.
Correct. The APA is going to have just a little bit more sweetness to it, less bite at the finish than an IPA.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you what, the can art looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like it has a picture of Uncle Sam with a nice beard, maybe an icon. I'm not sure if that's Uncle Sam.
Colorful.
Yeah, it's got some color to it. But what surprised me the most, Ken, 6.1% alcohol.
Sure.
This is, I guess it falls in your parameters, but I don't know.
6.9 or less.
Yeah, I don't know if
Seven. If it's 7 handle and up. Is I'll drink it, but generally speaking, 5 to 7.
But this might be the highest alcohol content beer that you've actually brought in. I don't know off the top of my head if you brought
in some 6.5s.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
How do you like it?
So I'm going to take a sip, but before the sip, the smell of it, right? You obviously get fruity notes, right? I get mango. I mean, I get some grapefruit. I know that the descriptions say grapefruit. Yeah, I get a lot of mango. You know what? I'm getting like a leafy tea type of scent, maybe. You know what I mean? To go with the mango. Maybe like, I don't want to say earthy tea, not that much, but more like spruce tea, maybe spruce tea.
Okay. Interesting.
Take
Yeah,
a
it's
sip.
got it's made with Citra, Centennials, Simcoe, and Warrior hops. So it's kind of gonna have a little bit of that citrusy kind of flavor to it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it has a robust flavor combination. You know what I mean? For an APA, it really does.
yeah.
What is I don't even know if do you know what Charlatan is?
Nah, like where they it didn't say like where they got that name
Yeah.
from on there. No, it didn't say, but yeah, this is I've had this before, enjoyed it. So I thought we'd again try sticking with something I know and something I knew I would enjoy as we sit here today and talk about audits.
So is this like a recent introduction to your rotation of beers, or you just tried it?
No, it's been around for a few years,
Yeah.
and actually they've got this is kind of like an APA, and then they've created another beer that I would say is like its big brother called Son of Juice,
Oh,
which is more juicy and a little bit more hoppy.
yeah. And more popular.
And then there's another one above that. It's called Juice Pants,
Oh,
and it's like they stepped it up even another notch.
really?
So this is the most mild of of that kind of I call it like a family of beers. I kind of view them as like levels of hoppiness and
No, I've never had Sun of
sweetness.
Juice. I know you've had Sun of Juice, so that's more juicy,
More juicy, more
more
hazy.
more sweetness.
It's like
Then
more of a hazy IPA.
really,
Yeah, this one's a little bit more like a American Pale Ale, like less hazy, less juicy.
yeah, it's pretty good. So on Beer Advocate, it has a score of 89 out of 100. Definitely liked by most people. You're always going to get the stragglers here and there that, this isn't crafty enough for them. But I mean, is it a craft beer? I guess it's a craft beer, right?
Sure.
It's got to be, right? It's a small brewery. And
Yeah, at now this was on sale for $10 for a 4 pack, four 16 ounces.
it's expensive beer.
So, but normal price is like 13,
Yeah, it's a pretty
$14.
expensive beer.
Yeah.
But
All those hops are
What?
pricey.
one day we're gonna have to sit down and we're gonna have to actually define what makes a craft beer. I know we've talked about it in the past, but we got to do it one day.
What are the parameters where by which you can be called craft beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so let's as we sit here, let's recap. So last month we got together. If anyone missed last month, we did kind of a full overview of Copilot and AI features inside of Business Central, both features that have existed in the past that are new features and a few of the upcoming ones in the next release.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if it's not a fan favorite, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
love the AI.
we didn't have AI snack time because
The whole
the
show
whole
is on.
show is on AI and Copilot. So this month we're kind of turning the page a little bit, and this is for mostly a lot of people who are in finance and accounting, who are using Business Central for financials, and maybe you're in charge of the audit. We're going to be basically talking about everything related to how to prepare for being audited when you're running Business Central.
And I would say it's one heck of a topic for the October month with Halloween right around the corner.
Yeah,
It's a scary topic for a lot of people.
it is. That's why I said like we had to have some good beer here because like no one wants to talk audit. But there's a lot that you can do to set yourself up in advance of the auditor showing up and saying, here's a list of 20 things I need from you to make sure that you're ready and that you can provide all of that very efficiently and quickly.
Right, because auditing doesn't have to be as scary of a process as most people think that it is, as long as you're prepared. Now, if you're not prepared, yes, you're gonna have
Then it can be,
some hair pulling
yeah,
moments, right?
yeah, it can be miserable, right? Because they're lifting up the rug, right? They're like,
Right.
they're like, lift up that rug right there. And all of that crap you've been sweeping under there for the last year,
Yeah,
they're going to
That-
see it, or there's a good
yeah.
chance.
That's how I feel when I get my physical every year. like, oh, don't eat this, don't drink that. Like, no, I do this because,
It's time to face the music.
right.
Right? But I'll bet if you actually ate healthy and lost weight and your blood pressure was down, you probably wouldn't
I'd feel a lot better going to the doctor. Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be a problem at all.
I'll bet. Yeah, no, I've been there. I know how that feels. Great. And then next month, let's give a little teaser for next month. What do we have coming up, Michael?
So next month we've got a returning guest, one of our favorites, Mr. Soren Alexanderson from Microsoft. He's going to come on the show. We're just going to chit chat, see what's going on with Women in Dynamics, what's new in Business Central, maybe talk a little AI, maybe even talk a little onboarding with BC if he's got anything new. So we're looking forward to that. Oh, we want to hear a little bit about what's going on with him and his band as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love
you guys share that common bond, right? Because you play what?
Yeah, piano.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, although I don't play it like, out in public in front of, crowds of people.
Yeah. You're not creating like a Dracula play.
No. Despite our intro today.
Yeah, so next month we'll be good. So pretty special podcast just for it'll be like our Thanksgiving special with the special guest. So
yeah.
But all right, want to jump on into the shot of VC or what?
Let's do it.
Revolutionize your business communications with Microsoft Teams Phone from Solution Systems and save up to 50% on phone bills. Contact Solution Systems today.
It is time for the shot of Business Central. And this month, I would say that there's probably a low amount of updates, but some good ones. So what I've got is the 2024 Release Wave 2 update has, dare I say, begun to roll out in October. I don't know if you've experienced it. Great if yours has been updated. Was there a pause? I think there might have been a pause too, right?
Yeah. And I haven't seen too many here as we sit in the last day or two of October. Too many environments that have been updated yet, but talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, and I would say with the 2024 Release Wave 2 update, to me, there's really like two main feature updates, right? You've got the reporting and data analysis upgrades with over 70 new Power BI reports. And then my favorite is the expanded Copilot capabilities. I know you've got one or two other things that you really like, so what you got?
Yeah, there's a subscription billing module that's being added. So I know recurring billing and subscription type billing is gotten more and more popular. More and more businesses are trying to add recurring revenue into their business models. So I think, many of our customers that do all kinds of different things have some type of recurring billing these days.
It's the new norm.
So I think it's cool that Microsoft, that's now a standard feature. It's no longer going to have to be an app a third party app from AppSource that you have to go out there and make a decision. Which one should I get? It's just going to be built in and a standard feature. So that's kind of exciting. And like you said, I'm also excited about all the new reporting capabilities that are coming out. So, and I noticed that, with releases, I'm not, if there may have been a pause on the deployments, but what we've seen is a higher than normal number of customization extensions that we've developed over the years for our customers that have conflicts or compatibility issues with version 25 or 2024 Wave 2.
Yeah.
Right. So that's actually called version 25. So you may, if you have custom extensions in your Business Central environment, you may have some compatibility issues that need to be resolved before Microsoft will upgrade your environment to 2025.
Yeah. So quick question, man. I can't remember. So even if you don't update those extensions or apps or whatever it may be, eventually Microsoft pushes through the update for the main Business Central update, right? And then those extensions or apps just won't.
Eventually,
pushes it through.
There is a web page. If you go out onto Microsoft Learn under Business Central, it talks about, there's a whole section that explains that length of time. And I can't recall if they changed it relatively recently. It was 12 months and now it's 6 months, or it was 18 and now it's 12.
Right.
Yeah, there is definitely a point in time where Microsoft will auto upgrade you. Like but you have months and months and months.
Yeah.
So
Plenty of time to get it figured out.
plenty of time to get these things figured out. But now is the time, if you are not already set to receive notifications about environment updates, you can go into your Business Central Admin Center, and there's a section called Notifications. And you can set up an unlimited number of people or email addresses that you want to receive notifications regarding updates to your environment.
Right.
Those updates are things like, hey, you've got an issue with an extension, and it tells you exactly what the issue is, when an update is scheduled, and when an update has been completed successfully.
Yeah, definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
That's
So
all I've got. So
yeah. So one other little news, and we talked last month, I think, quite a bit about how Microsoft announced the end of life for Dynamics GP.
end of life, yes, not end of support or whatever. End of life.
So, which is 2029, is the official last release that they're going to be doing. Now, a lot of those releases that will be coming out between now and 2029 are going to be simply regulatory updates or technology updates, but only to continue to have them be compatible with other Microsoft products like SQL Server, Windows operating system, and things like that.
Don't expect too many feature updates, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there you
What
go.
you have
That's
is
a
what
nice
you
way to
kinda
put
got.
it. Yeah, don't expect too many feature updates.
I-
Yeah, but here's the reality. The writing is on the wall, but I think kind of the writing's been on the wall for a while.
Absolutely.
And but now it's official, right? So I think now there's clarity around it. And I will bet you dollars to donuts as we sit here today in 2024 that when we get to 2034, there will still be companies running Dynamics GP.
Yeah, I probably would agree with you with that, right?
Right.
Just, we'll look at our our flagship software, the solution, right? That
Yeah.
was introduced in
We stopped developing in it 21 years ago.
people are still using
People
it.
still use it.
So yeah,
Yeah. And it's a perpetual use license. So if someone's running it, they have a server on premise, even a virtual server that's running it. Sure, Microsoft's no longer going to support it after 2029. That doesn't mean it's going to stop working after 2029.
yeah.
You can continue running that for as long as you want. And if you're happy with the features and functionality as is, okay, keep running it until some point. But I think there is going to be an uptick in companies now that say, okay, it's official. Maybe we should make plans so that over the next 5 years, we've migrated to something else. Hopefully, Dynamics 365 Business Central.
Yeah, as they should. I mean, in my recommendation, I would not wait to the last minute. I would have a plan in place, put together a plan, follow the plan, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because you've got time, you don't have to rush, but at least start exploring the option of upgrading to Business Central. You're
Right.
gonna have to.
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
in case people don't know, Microsoft has created a data migration tool to move data from GP to Business Central. And we have utilized it multiple times. It's actually pretty robust compared to what existed in that migration tool 3 or 4 years ago. It was pretty limited back then, I'll be honest with you.
Very
So if you maybe looked at it or tried it 2, 3, 4 years ago, take another look at it. It's significantly better now. We're doing it. We're actually offering free GP data migration because it's gotten that smooth that we feel like we don't even need to charge for that,
Right.
running that piece of it. And one last thing regarding that, there is a bridge to the cloud to promotion that Microsoft has in place, where if you're running an on-premise solution like GP or NAV, like 2009 through 2018, what you can do is, as you get to your annual enhancement plan renewal, you can move to this promo, which gets you Business Central licenses for 40% off. That promo does end on December 31st, 2024.
Again, I would recommend not waiting and taking advantage of this promo. You might say, oh, well, they're going to offer a Bridge to the Cloud promo 3 probably next year. And Microsoft might. But let's look back. Bridge to the Cloud promo 1, you got 60% off.
For 4 years.
Yes. Now you're at 40.
for 3 years.
Right. So if you keep going now with the trend,
You're going to get,
20 for 2, right? So you might want to take advantage of
Yeah.
it now.
we don't know. You're hypothesizing about
I am,
20%
I
for
am.
two. That's
it's-
totally based on no information.
Right. No, just a numbers
Yeah.
guy.
But you're right. There probably will be a Bridge to the Cloud promo 3.
Yeah. Something.
But I have not seen an announcement on it yet. Maybe we just missed it. But I would guess that there will be a promo, especially since they just announced
Right.
the big GP announcement.
Yeah.
So,
But take advantage of it. You're going to
Yeah.
get more for your money if you do it now.
yeah. And then lastly, I just want to kind of give a recap. I was at the Dynamic Community Summit Conference down in San Antonio, Texas, October, I don't know, 15th through the 18th or something like that. And it was, pretty large conference. It was all of the Dynamics solutions and Power Platform. So I don't know, I didn't hear an exact number, but thousands
Yeah.
of attendees.
Multiple buildings.
One, the big San Antonio Convention Center. It was, if you had to walk from one side to the other side, which I did have to do a couple times, I felt like it was at a half a mile walk
Oh, really?
from one end to the other
So
end.
big. Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty large center. The big theme of the conference. Can you take a guess?
AI.
AI, there you go, Copilot, right? Everything Copilot. But tons of detailed content. Like, for example, I did a session at the conference, and I went onto the agenda and looked just for Business Central. During the time slot where I led my session, there were 11 other sessions. So 12 Business Central sessions almost per time slot.
Mhm.
So you have your variety. If you're in finance or you're manufacturing or warehouse or service, like it seems like there was something for you.
Do you think the conference should be extended longer with the amount of people and all the sessions so people can attend more? Or do you think it's
I don't know if it should go longer. I think maybe what they could do is record more sessions. I don't know exactly how many they recorded, but then make it easy for the attendees of that conference to go back and watch those recordings
for the sessions they couldn't attend because they were in something else?
Yeah, like I had 3 things I wanted to go sit through, and you have to pick one, right? If you're lucky enough, you have 2 people there, you could send one person to this one person to that one, and then compare notes. But I think it's still useful if you're paying that much money for a conference, that the recorded sessions that are available. And I know they do that at the conference.
For some of them.
I just personally haven't gone and checked out like the recordings myself. So that's it. And I walked around the expo hall, a lot of app developers and ISV companies there.
Are they even jumping on board with the AI theme and everything?
Promoting their products. Yeah, in particular, like a lot of the AP automation things where they're like a lot of the OCR stuff is now AI driven.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest, I would say, kind of quickest adoptions is to look at a vendor invoice document and use AI to figure out what's the invoice number, what's the invoice date, what are the payment terms, and kind of figure out
a lot more accurate.
All that stuff. So I have to give a special shout out to the crew at Alta Vista Technologies. Talked to those guys for a while there. Big fans of the podcast. So giving them special shout out delivered right here.
That's what we like to hear.
So it was fun. We drank some Lone Star beers. I think the consensus was that someone described it as like a cheap college beer.
Oh, really?
But I think our consensus was that it was very drinkable. I think we got through a few of them in short order.
Never heard of it before. Did you get a chance to try I know Troy Aikman's got a beer from the Cowboys.
Did not.
I know that's always
probably in
Texas.
Dallas.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah.
But no, it was a fun conference. They had a little nice fiesta out on the Riverwalk. on the
never
last
been.
night.
I
And
hear
we
it's
did like
beautiful.
free riverboat rides, maybe like 10-minute rides around there and back, you know.
Nice.
It was very nice. As a matter of fact, I would tell you, I've been to Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. I would probably tell you if you said, I'm going to Texas for a long weekend, where should I go? I think I'd tell you to go to San Antonio and stay in a hotel on the Riverwalk.
Yeah,
Um,
just because it has everything there.
yeah, and there's also
Got
some art exhibit type things. You got the Alamo is like just a couple blocks away. Tons of restaurant dining options. Very beautiful. You can go out and walk every day. I went for probably a 2-mile walk out on the river walk at some point during the day,
Nice.
just to kind of, it was just nice, just walking around, checking stuff out.
Weather was good.
Weather was great. It was, I think it was a little warm for some people. It was like low mid 90s.
Yeah,
I loved it.
perfect.
And then the last day or two, it was down in the 70s. So
Oh, huge.
perfect.
Jump.
Like right. Everyone loves that. But I like the warm weather. I thought it was nice.
Well,
So
all right.
next year,
Go ahead.
look for another warm weather destination. The Dynamic Community Summit will be in Orlando, Florida.
Wow. We don't get too many out here in the Midwest, although we do got Dynamics Con coming up next year.
Next
In the
spring,
Midwest, yeah.
we've got the Dynamics Con live conference coming to Chicago.
There's a lot of people out here. Come on, guys.
It's great. I guess May, and I mean, if you're going to come to Chicago, I'd say June or July is better, but
Yeah.
May is,
It's not bad.
it's not February.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
All right.
All
Well,
right.
let's jump ahead. What do we got next? We're gonna jump in the
we're going to
auditing.
figure out. Ooh. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to A Shot of Business Central and a Beer. In our feature segment today, we're going to be talking through how to best prepare for your audit when running Business Central. So, Michael, have you ever been through an audit?
I have not.
So
I'm lucky.
at this time of year around Halloween, it is a spooky and scary thing for some people,
I could imagine.
right? So I think at the summit conference that I just attended, I actually did a session on this that was very close to in line with this topic of how to prepare, basically on data integrity, data security, and audit tools in Business Central to help simplify your audit. So kind of been preparing for this, for a while. I'm also going to be writing a blog article on this that we're going to publish just as a reference document for the various setups, administration tools, and reports that you can use to help make sure your audit's going smooth, and some recommendations for setting up the system, like what are things that you should be doing up front and then on a regular basis throughout the year. And tell you what I originally started with was knowing that it's fall, right? And it's getting towards the end of the year. And audits, most companies are on like calendar fiscal years. So usually if you're going through an audit, you have some pre-audit tasks that start in November and December. And then once you get to maybe like late January, February, you get a laundry list of requests from your outside auditors, usually mostly for accounting and finance related areas, financial statement, right? Because you're auditing the financial statements officially. So usually this falls on like your CFO, controller, assistant controller, and accounting team in there. So when I started preparing for this, I was like, all right, let me just go through a list of all of the reports that you should run in Business Central and provide to the auditors. Like, okay, pretty straightforward.
Simple enough, right?
And then what I realize is, wait a minute, if the system isn't set up to begin with, or if you haven't, quote, locked down the system from a security and maintenance standpoint, those reports might be garbage, right? So in order to be able to look at those reports and rely on those reports, you have to first make sure that the system is set up correctly and that you've got good data integrity meaning making sure that you're confident that things are hitting the right place at the right time on your financial statements.
So first step then is to make sure that your ERP or whatever Business Central is set up correctly.
Correct.
Okay.
So let's talk through real quickly. I know, again, if you attended Community Summit and you have access to the sessions, this wasn't a recorded session, but there are notes out there from this. But I'm going to kind of walk through. So what are some of those setup things kind of quickly that we can go through? So the first thing is your user setup, right? So you want to make sure that one of the questions the auditor is going to say is, how are you controlling who has access to your ERP solution, to your systems, right? And of course, everything we're talking about here today is Business Central, right? I'm sure there are other things, but today we're focusing on Business Central, right? So
Can I interject?
yeah,
Have you gone through an audit before?
I have, yes.
So would you say that auditors generally have a standardized set of questions that they ask to each organization that they're auditing?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Yeah, generally, right. They're looking at controls on your data and your processes. And then they want to audit the accuracy of the financial statements. Meaning, does this tie out? Does it all make sense? Are these transactions all legitimate?
Okay.
Right.
So auditors do have a rhyme and reason.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it starts with making sure you're controlling access to the system.
Right.
And how are you doing that? So the first thing is, right, when you have a new user, right, you set up a new user record, you assign a license to that user, right? And what sometimes people forget to do is if someone leaves the organization, you should remove that license and you should disable that user account, right? So that's having a process in place to show how you enable and disable user accounts is a key part of that, including detailed setup instructions for maybe it's not just, okay, I set up the user, but now that I set them up, how do I set up their permissions? How do I define what role center they're assigned or what their view of Business Central is, right, when they log in? So again, it's user setup, it's permission sets. And I pointed out, I'd like to point out, like a lot of times there's a great page, an auditor goes, hey, you've got this user, Ken. Show me, what does Ken have access to in Business Central? And you might go, well, here's Ken's user setup record, and here are the permission sets that Ken is assigned to. Well, that kind of doesn't tell you really what I have access to. So in Business Central, there's a page called Effective Permissions. You put in the username, and it basically calculates, based on the permission sets that you've assigned, all of the detailed data, pages, reports, or other objects that user has access to.
Gotcha.
Based on those roles and permission sets, I should say.
And would you say that in general, I know there's some companies that do a wonderful job with everything, but in general, are there a lot of companies that should spend more time setting up the permissions for their users?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With a laugh. Okay.
Absolutely. Security and permission sets, role center setup and configuration. These are areas that are, they can get very tedious, like granular, and you really have to spend time fine tuning what each user has access to. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll kind of take a shortcut. And here's I'm going to give away a little shortcut for those people that feel like, so there's probably people out there that are like, oh, our security is wide open right now.
Yeah.
Everyone has access to everything, and we know it's terrible, but we don't have time, and it's a pain in the butt. So Ken, how can we quickly implement some type of permission set security here?
Okay.
Well, there is a tool that allows you, when you're setting up a permission set, most permission sets explicitly define what permissions are included for you as a user. So I could say, Michael, I want you to have access to the trial balance report. I want you to have access to the aged accounts payable report. I want you to have access to the vendor, the vendor setup page and so on. But what you can also do, this is the secret, you can create a permission set where all of those objects, those things I listed, you can say, these are the things that I want to exclude from this user. So you could say, Michael has access to most things in Business Central. However, these are the 10 or 20 or 50 pages and reports that Michael does not have access to. I'm excluding access to these 50 things. And a lot of times, because in a small, mid-sized business, people have their hands in all different kinds of places. That's a way easier way to go.
So you're saying assign that permission then to multiple people because most likely,
right?
Most people or a lot of people are not going to have access to the same page or shouldn't have access to a lot of the same.
I can provide full access or what we call super access to like you as a user. And then if I also assign this exclude permission set, I can put 50 or 10 or 100 different things in there. And those things you do not see or have access to.
Gotcha.
And a lot of times that's a way easier way to do it. But now you actually have a legit security plan in place. Right.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Good. So that's kind of on the user setup, user control side. The second piece are financial setups. So setting up your financial modules so that you can maximize your auditability, control, data integrity, and reconciliation capabilities, right? So how do we do that? The first thing is there's a lot of different topics that I can go through here. I'll go through here. One is, right, use dimensions. Dimensions are a way to segment your chart of accounts. And the general rule is I would say that your GL chart of accounts list should be pretty static. It shouldn't change. You shouldn't be adding new GL accounts on a regular basis.
Really?
If you are, it means that you're not using dimensions, right? Every time you add a new product line, if you have to add new GL accounts, or if I add a new salesperson, I have to add some new GL accounts. That's wrong. You shouldn't have to do that. And you're like, well, who cares? Why would the auditor care? Well, because if every time the auditor shows up, you have 10 or 20 new GL accounts, now they kind of have to ask questions around that. If I give them the same exact chart of accounts this year as I gave them last year, but I have a couple new dimension values, it's a lot smoother, right? So that's something. There's other dimension tools that you can use to make sure that people are hitting the right ones. There's a dimensions combinations, which says which dimension can be used in combination with another dimension. There's default rules. So you can say, hey, anytime anyone hits this expense account, they have to specify a department dimension value.
Gotcha.
Right. There's also allowable values. This is a newer feature where you can say, hey, like I have an account called office supplies expense, right? And then I have a department dimension. My departments are sales, marketing, admin, shop floor, warehouse.
Sure.
Maybe no one should ever be buying office supplies for the shop floor.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense, right? There's no office on the shop floor. So they shouldn't, right? I can say, don't allow people to pick shop floor when they hit office expense. Biggest thing, there's a direct posting flag. So in Business Central, you have posting groups, right? Do not allow direct posting to any account that's used in a posting group. What that does is that ensures that you understand exactly what is hitting that GL account. And it's used for only one purpose. So when the auditors come in and they say, hey, this sales account here, what's hitting this? You can go, well, we don't allow direct posting. So I can tell you the only thing that hits that is when we invoice customers to this account or whatever, right?
So what you're saying is, right, the more finite you can be with your user permissions and setup and whatnot, the better, right? I mean, you just don't want.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. I would venture to think that a lot of smaller companies lack in this field, like we talked about.
Exactly.
But they just kind of assign basic permission to everybody, and
Right.
that's
Yeah, and it's not a factor or a function of someone who's trying to do something nefarious.
Yeah.
Big word. It's errors.
Right.
It's preventing users from accidentally choosing the wrong thing. I kind of have a rule, like if you have any more than 3 choices for a user, your error rate goes up exponentially for each one that you add, each choice that you give them, right? So you want to try to make sure that users aren't accidentally hitting the wrong thing.
Which is why I can only access 3 pages in our Business Central.
There you go. We locked you down. I think we may have even disabled personalization for you.
Maybe.
You know what, you causing any trouble out there.
Get in there and mess around.
Yeah. And there's some other rules for posting groups, and we tell people don't reuse the same GL account for multiple purposes inside of posting groups. A good example is, you have a cost of goods sold account and an inventory adjustments account. You would never want to use the same GL account for both of those, because when the auditor says, hey, what's hitting this account? You don't want to say, well, it could be because we sold something to a customer, or it could be because we lost the item or we damaged it in the warehouse. They're like, what? Yeah. Like a write-off? So that, again, it raises questions. If you can give them one specific purpose per account, it makes everything cleaner and easier for everyone to understand.
These GL account best practices that you're kind of speaking of,
Mm-hmm.
is something that's just learned through experience, or is it something that accountants and finance people should pretty much know? Or
no, I would say, as a matter of fact, it's something that I like. I have an accounting degree, CPA background, so I understand right, an auditor's mindset and what they're looking for and what they like to see. They want clear transparency and simplicity. And so these are things that I've picked up over the years. I think we published a blog article a few years ago, best practices and financial setups.
Yeah.
A lot of these are in there.
10 Commandments of Financial Setups.
The 10 Commandments of Financial Setups. There you go. Right. Yeah. Say
Yeah.
Sign of the cross real quick here.
Hey, you got my holy water.
So, so these are things that we've picked up over the years, and again, it's relevant for audits because the auditors are coming in, right? They don't have an intricate understanding of your system and how transactions flow and everything. But if you can make it simple for them, that's what you're trying to do. Make it simple for them to be able to understand what's happening. And if you limit everything, restrict it and limit to a single use, you end up in a lot better situation. All right, let's move on. We can talk all day about this. The fourth thing is, what are tools available for your Business Central administrator? So like when the auditor comes in and says, like, how are you controlling what users see or what they can do? All right. So as this is usually sometimes an IT manager, could be someone in the accounting department. They're like the de facto system administrator for Business Central. Right. There's a few features on the Role Center page where you can enable or disable and decide which role centers you want to make available for users when you set up. And my recommendation is, if your organization is only using 3 different role centers or 5 different role centers, but there's 25, right, in Business Central available, disable the 20 so that users can't accidentally pick them or switch to them, right? Don't even let them see that they're there. Just make them pick from those 3 or 5 that you're using.
And it's best practice or common that people use, multiple people use the same role center. That's pretty fairly common. You
Yeah.
have
Yeah, most small to mid-sized businesses of our customers, we see I don't know what the average number is exactly, but I would tell you that most organizations use somewhere between 3 and 8 different role centers. That covers their user community, right? There it could be more, but on average, it's probably 4 or 5.
Okay, so it's not a negative thing though, if multiple people are using the same role center.
Oh, no, that's common, right? Like there's a salesperson role center. I would expect if you have 5 salespeople, all 5 salespeople
But
use
it's
that role
not
center.
better for an auditor to set up an individual with their own individual role center.
No,
Okay.
not necessary. No, not at all. No. Okay, another tool. This is a really popular tool. A tool that's been around for a long time called the change log. Right? The change log, you can enable this on any table in any field. And you say, I want to know anytime a user changes a field value, they modify it, they insert a new value, or they delete it, and track who made the change, what day and what time, what was the old value and what was the new value. So my suggestion from an audit perspective is to set this up on all of your GL account records, dimension records, and posting group records, so that has anyone changed anything in our financial setups and controls over the last year?
Some sort of trail.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yep. And it's an easy way to go, oh, yeah, you know what? In June, we added a new location. So we added a new inventory posting setup record. And it's just something that you can look back on. There's a new feature called field monitoring. Field monitoring effectively kind of sits on top of changelog. And the new features that it adds are notifications via email to your system administrator when someone has changed a field value, the ability to categorize the types of data changes being made, retention policies, which is huge. So like, let's say you're tracking hundreds of fields across different tables, right? That table can grow huge. So with retention policies, you can say, look, any changes to the GL chart of accounts, only keep those records for 1 year. Any changes to sales lines records, keep for 3 months.
Gotcha.
So table by table, you can pick how long you want the system. And then what it does is it auto purges those old records for you.
Really?
So your database doesn't grow out of control.
Very nice.
Right? There's also a feature called time registers, which will track how many minutes per day has each user logged into the system. So sometimes auditors will say, when was the last time so-and-so accessed the system? If you set this up, you can go in there and say, here's the last date they accessed it, and here's how long. Right. And then there's the admin center. And the admin center adds tools, like I mentioned, like notifications, telemetry data, storage capacity status. You can get access to the tables, how many records are in each table, and all kinds of stuff. Right. And then lastly, but not leastly, number 4, fourth section here.
Number 4?
Reports and tools.
Oh, what everybody thinks is number 1.
Right. But it took 1, 2, and 3, right? User setup, financial controls, administrative tools. It took us making sure that we had our ducks in a row to get to this point, to make sure that we can run these reports. Right. So real quickly, I'm going to try to go through like the key reports that are accessible that you should be using for various purposes. First of all, let's start off with the trial balance report. Auditors are definitely going to ask you for a trial balance report. They want to see the beginning balances of every account, net change for the period, and ending balances.
Okay.
There are about a dozen standard trial balance reports in the system. Out of the box, including one that you can output directly to Excel. Actually, all of them you can output to Excel. But I want to mention that how I do it is I create a trial balance financial report, which used to be called account schedules. And I create a row definition that includes every GL account, every posting GL account. And then the columns I can set up however I want. I can say, I want a column for beginning balance, column for debits, a column for credits, and an ending balance column. And then I take that view, I can set whatever date filter, export it to Excel.
How did it work with like old NAV when you couldn't export to Excel, right? You couldn't, what did?
I did account schedules.
Nice.
That was my workaround. You use the overview tool, look at the data, copy the rows and paste them into Excel.
Oh, copy and paste, go copy and paste.
Yeah, because here's the secret. No, even though you have hundreds of standard reports in Business Central, there's always something that's not quite formatted right. I don't want to see it this way. I don't want to see it sorted this way. I don't want to see it grouped like this.
Sure.
I don't want to see these columns, or I would prefer to see this column instead. So I would create a trial balance financial report that you can run. You can get exactly what you want in terms of rows and columns. Bank reconciliation is a huge part of your audit. So there's 2 steps for bank recs. Step 1, complete your bank rec in Business Central. Many people still will use Excel or do their bank recs offline. Bad idea. It works, but if your auditor shows up and you can print the bank statement report showing outstanding entries that haven't been cleared yet as of the end of that bank rec and just hand it to them or email it to them.
A lot less stress on your plate.
A lot less stress on your plate, a lot less questions from them.
Yeah.
Because they see, and this applies to all these reports, they see that this is a system generated report directly out of the system. It's not an Excel spreadsheet.
Everything can kind of, the numbers can be fudged.
You can do whatever the hell you want in Excel, right?
Gotcha.
So like if I give someone an Excel spreadsheet and go, oh yeah, here's our financial statement.
Is it?
Right. But if I give you a report that's directly out of Business Central, that's clearly not fudged,
less of a chance.
It's significantly more trustworthy,
right,
and therefore less follow-up questions back at you. Okay. Aged accounts payable report, tie out AP. Aged accounts receivable report, tie out AR. All right, let's talk inventory valuation.
Okay.
Everyone wants to start with the inventory valuation report. That is what I would call good. Because what it gives you is every item and the total remaining quantity as of your period ending date and the total value, right? But that total value could be partly expected costs and partly invoiced costs. So it doesn't help you break apart your interim inventory accounts from your inventory accounts.
Okay.
And a lot of auditors are going to want you to justify what makes up this interim inventory balance versus the inventory balance.
Okay.
So a better report to run is the inventory to GL reconcile report. This report actually breaks apart invoiced value from expected value. And then you add those together and you get your total inventory valuation.
So one's good, one's great.
One's good and one's better.
So is there a best coming?
Man, you're on the ball today.
I'm sharp as a kid.
There is. Yeah. We actually published an app on AppSource. It's called the Advanced Inventory to GL Reconcile Report. This is the best. Now, what we've done is it's the same data set as exists on the inventory to GL Reconcile Report. What we've done is we've removed some columns that really shouldn't make sense or shouldn't be relevant for you when you're doing this. We've also rearranged the columns. So they're detailed listed in a better order that makes more sense, like intuitively. We've relabeled a couple columns. We've color coded the columns to make it much easier to understand. And we've also split out the expected cost. We've split out return orders and WIP. So that makes it much easier to reconcile against your individual GL accounts that you have on your chart of accounts.
How much does this app cost?
It's free, Michael. You do have to go through and register it, and it's $0 per user.
Nice.
So
Magic words free.
free, right? And I would tell you that, you know, that the standard report's still there, that you may have a reason why you want to run that, because you want to see, do we have any unposted costs? We removed all these unposted cost columns, unadjusted or whatever. Our assumption when you're doing your final inventory reconciliation is you've posted all your costs to the GL and all costs are fully adjusted. So we're like, on this report, we don't need to show all that, right? We don't need it there. So it's a cleaner, easier to understand report. So I would use that. There is a production order WIP report. If you're doing manufacturing, you should run that report. That should tie out to your WIP account, penny to penny. I've not seen many issues with that.
Would you say that every report that you most likely need, if you're getting audited, is standard out of the box already in Business Central? You don't have to create.
So far, we've not touched on one required custom report.
Okay.
Financial reports, right? Again, these used to be called account schedules. A lot of people are not overly flattered with the visual display when you print an income statement or a balance sheet. Sure. But I will tell you, you have to have financial reports set up. You have to have an income statement, a detailed balance sheet, because there's the overview page. You can switch between periods really easily. You can drill down on the cells and see what specific detailed transactions make up that net change or that balance. You have to use it, even if you don't use it for your like executive level financial reporting tool. From a day-to-day standpoint, an auditing, a month-end standpoint, you need to be using financial reports. It's just all it is it's a set of different row definitions which combine GL accounts and dimension values and columns, month to date, year to date, prior year to date, net change, year over change, year over year change percent. Like everything you want is right there. There's a fixed, if you use fixed assets, you should run the fixed asset book value 01 report. Nice name, right? I think there's a fixed asset book value 02 report also. Really? But the 01 report shows you the original asset acquisition cost, depreciation, and then an ending book value that should tie out to your GL. So that's a nice report. If you're running projects, there is a project WIP to GL report. And again, that report ties out, that has a total WIP. If you have a project WIP account, it should total.
Very nice.
Another report that auditors like to see, and this one kind of gets sticky sometimes, there's a report called the daily invoicing report.
Okay.
A lot of times auditors will say, send me a report or a list of every invoice posted during the year or during a month. This is an easy way to provide that. And then, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, all right, you sent me this invoicing register, if you will, invoice register for the month, and it shows $2 million in sales. But I look at your income statement and it says 2.1 million in sales. Why is there a difference? What's the $100,000 difference there? Well, if you've set up your posting groups correctly, you should be able to easily identify which accounts the 2 million maps to, and then easily see, well, this extra $100,000, this was from vendor rebates or something, right?
Not the brand new BMW sitting out in the parking lot.
Right, exactly, right? So, yeah, that daily invoicing report, now, again, anything, all these reports have a print to Excel data only option,
Right.
right? So even if you don't like the formats of these reports, send the output into Excel.
Just, yeah.
There also, I just like to remind people, there's a general ledger entries page. You can set all kinds of filters on this general ledger entries page and give your auditor all your GL entries.
Right? Be
Right?
done with it, right?
Show full transparency. Be like, look, here's every journal entry that got hit, every entry that got booked to our GL during the month or whatever period of time
Right.
they ask for, right? Send it and just share, open in Excel, save it, send it to them, right?
Easy peasy, right?
Hopefully, it could be that easy. And then here is the ace in your back pocket.
Uh-oh.
You're like, I need to get them this data and I don't see any report that gets me the data or the view that I need. There is a page called Web Services. In the Web Services page, there's a function called Create Data Set. If you create data set, you can pick any page in the system which has data, right, fields displayed, and create an OData URL, OData feed, and then go into Power BI or even Excel, connect to that data feed and pull in all that data into Excel
Build it.
and use pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, whatever you need to pull multiple tables in and build the data that you need for the audit.
So with Business Central, there's never the excuse, well, I can't get the information, right? There's always a way.
Correct. Very well put. You know, and this has changed. 15, 20 years ago, we often heard from customers, I feel like the system has all my data in there, but I can't get it, right? I would tell you it is the extreme opposite today. You have no excuse.
Right, to get your data. Yeah.
Your data is accessible through multiple options.
Right.
So there's really no reason you can't get that, whatever level of data you want to get.
It's an auditor's dream.
Right. So to wrap this up, right, accuracy and controls over your various setups throughout Business Central are crucial for being able to demonstrate to your auditors the integrity of your system. Tools and reports exist in Business Central to provide almost every piece of data that you might need to provide to auditors, and showing it's coming directly from Business Central is very powerful in itself. My final recommendation is, if you're going through your audit with Business Central for the first time, create a BC audit checklist. And this could be in Excel, just a list of every report that you ran for the auditors, what filters you set, how you ran it, and then save a copy of all those for next year so that when you get to next year, you're not reinventing the wheel.
If you have to be audited.
You will every year, you're going to be audited, right? Most people. You're just repeating the same steps that you did last year.
Yeah.
So the first year is usually the hardest. The second year, if you've created a good checklist for yourself, next year it's just rinse and repeat.
No, makes a lot of sense. Mic drop, right? Boom. there you have it.
And that's all I have to say about
And
that.
that's how you handle an audit with Business Central. So not as scary as a lot of people make it out to be, as long as you prepare,
Yeah,
right? As long as you're prepared, you're fine during an audit.
yeah, that's the key. And understanding where stuff is coming from and the tools that exist to understand and demonstrate
Right.
to the auditor, here's this control. Here's why. Oh, why? How do you know that no entry's gotten posted to this cost of goods sold account?
Right.
Because right here, we have direct posting turned off. And here's my change log, which shows no changes to that GL account for the last 12 months.
That makes sense.
Right? There you go.
If you need a consultant for auditing, contact you where? No.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and that is one of the things that I do find myself doing for our customers periodically, is I am participating in their audit,
Right.
right? It's and what I'm really doing is just pointing out these controls
It's
and
all there for
processes
you.
and
Yeah.
reports that and helping understand, like, this is the report you should be running. You
Right.
shouldn't be running that report, or you shouldn't be doing it this way. And here's why.
Yeah. No, makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, it's hard to pretty much top that topic. I'm pretty sure it's going to be popular, especially for the people who go through audits every year. But we got one last topic coming up: shot or no shot.
Shot or no shot?
Yeah, we're gonna try it. Okay, since we didn't have a lot of Business Central news this month, and we didn't have a lot of AI, Microsoft news this month, let's introduce a new segment called Shot or No Shot. And we're going to do it in the Halloween theme. And the basic rules are, you have to answer with shot if you agree, or no shot if you disagree, and then provide like a quick explanation.
So what you're saying is you're gonna lay out a scenario, and then I'm gonna answer, is there a shot of this happening, or
Correct.
that this will occur, or there's
Correct.
no shot that this happens or will happen,
Right.
or
Let's assume this is just somebody working, just a random person working at some office that's using Business Central.
okay.
Right?
All right. Well, all right. I'm interested. Let's
All
go.
right. Number one. All right. Let me full disclosure here though. These are AI generated.
Oh, boy.
So number one.
So I like how you have to add that disclaimer to the
Yes.
beginning.
Yes. So number one, let's call it the Phantom update. Would this person ever risk updating to the latest Business Central version without testing it first, just hoping no spooky errors appear?
Shot. And not only shot, but a huge shot.
Really?
The reality is that the majority of Business Central online organizations do zero testing before Microsoft deploys major releases.
All right. I have to agree with you on that one. All right. Number two, zombie workflow revisions. Imagine if this person were asked to revive an old, outdated Business Central workflow that nobody likes, but management insists on using. Would this person bring it back to life?
Shot, but I don't know if it has anything to do with Business Central.
Yeah. Well,
It has to do with them,
Business
like,
Central workflow.
If management said you need to redeploy
You gotta
this,
do it.
yeah, you're gonna do it, right? Or what?
Right. So shot for sure.
Yeah, shot.
All right. Next up, ghostly customizations. Say this person discovers some undocumented customizations lurking in their Business Central environment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Would they try to fix them without backup, just trusting their instincts? Oh, so that-
Generally, no shot.
Yeah.
This is like a user,
Right.
You're
not
saying
like a power user, I guess.
a user at Business.
Let's just say a regular user.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no shot.
Well, let's say it's somebody who actually has the capability or the permissions to discover undocumented customizations in their.
Yeah, I'm still gonna say no shot. I think they're going to at least reach out to someone to try to understand what's in there, why is it there? If not, at least if they're gonna remove it, create a sandbox, remove it in the sandbox and then change it, right? You're revising an extension. This is something a customization is something a developer does. So it means they have to have developer skills and tools available to do this. So a typical end user is not going to just uninstall an extension in their production environment without
But it's
asking someone.
wouldn't have access to those either, right? So it's got to be, you got to put it in a kind of,
Well-
who has access to it?
Well, believe it or not,
Right, with that person.
a lot of people who maybe shouldn't have access to the extension management page
Yeah.
where you can uninstall extensions.
Yeah.
But I don't think someone is just gonna go in there and just uninstall something if they aren't clear on what it is that it
I'm
does.
gonna go with shot. I think this is possible, especially if it's undocumented customizations. I could see somebody saying, yeah, this isn't supposed to be here. It's not whatever. Let's just get rid of it. I'm not saying they should,
Well,
but
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a chance.
that person is an idiot.
Right. All right, next up, right up your alley here. Skeletons in the chart of accounts. What if that person unearthed a chart of accounts from a company acquisition, even if it's filled with outdated account codes? Would they start using it anyway?
That is clearly an AI generated question
I agree.
because it makes no sense at all.
I agree.
But I'm gonna assume that what you meant, let's rephrase it a little bit
Yeah,
and say
please,
that
not you.
that a user sees an account in the chart of accounts
Yeah,
that hasn't been used before. There's no entries against it, but it's there.
right.
So they're gonna reuse it for a new purpose.
Okay.
Shot. That
Common
happens all the
practice.
time, right?
Yeah.
You've got this account, it happens to be in the right area. They can rename the account and just start using it for that new purpose.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, here's this one. Could go both ways. So let's call this one's called poltergeist performance issues. If a Business Central page kept freezing randomly at eerie intervals, would this person dismiss it as a glitch and wait until more users reported it?
Shot, it really depends on how long that delay is.
Yeah.
If it's on one page and it's like a 1 to 2 second delay from time to time, I personally would ignore it for a while.
Yeah.
And then eventually say something if once it gets really annoying, or maybe wait till someone else reports it too. Cause it could just be maybe it's just my internet connection.
I got you. Yeah. I could see it going both ways too, though, right? You know, somebody who's really in tune with their Business Central and is power user or whatever, maybe they just, it's reported right away. But
I think what
most common.
what most users would do there is look for repeatability.
Yeah.
Like if it's the same exact thing every time, eventually that becomes annoying. So they probably would report it. If it's random, the random ones are people are more hesitant to report the random type things because they can't recreate it.
Yeah.
And they don't understand why it's happening.
just
And
talk up
it
something
could be
like that,
a bunch of different things.
Gotcha. All right, 3 more. This one, the enchanted extensions. Imagine a mysterious new extension appears in this person's Business Central instance with no documentation or source. This extension claims to improve performance. Would they enable it without fully knowing what it does? That's kind of a tough one, right? If it's presented to you like this is going to improve performance.
I'm gonna say no shot. And the reason I'm gonna say no shot is this. Because if it's someone who has to enable a specific extension, it's probably like a system administrator
They understand that.
who right is responsible for system performance. And it's like, I don't want to kick myself in the shin by doing something unless I know exactly what it's doing. If like the performance is okay, there's no issues, and I see this, I'm not just gonna turn it on.
All right, let's say you work at a company that does like 500 million sales revenue, multiple people, multiple administrators, and you see this pop up in the in the Business Central.
Yeah.
Would you then
So
enable it thinking that somebody else must have installed it, or would you say no?
no, I
somebody
think
else-
actually that scenario, it's even more of a no shot. Because though that size organization, a larger organization running
Everything's
Business Central,
documented.
they're gonna have more formal processes and structures in place. It'd be the smaller deployments, 5 million in sales with like 3 users or 5 users. That would be the one I would be more concerned about.
Right. So, I mean, I think, I think this actually has a chance to be a shot because of the smaller organizations, like you said, even if they're the system administrators.
I mean, all of them have shots, but I mean, like generally speaking,
that's why
no
it's a good
shot,
discussion.
no shot.
No shot.
Listen, don't ever underestimate anyone's, uh,
Ability to enhance performance.
yeah,
I'm not Barry Bonds.
ability to be, bamboozled, you
All
know.
right. All right. Next up, graveyard of unused modules. This person has access to all Business Central modules, including those the company doesn't use. Do you think this person would ever start experimenting with them on their own, even if it could cause chaos in the system?
Shot.
Really?
Yes.
See, I think I would have went no shot.
Yeah, occasionally we've run into this in the past where, for example, here's a really good example. And I don't even know if this is in there anymore, but there's a module called cost accounting. And it sounds like if you're a manufacturing company, you would use the cost accounting module. False, right? But we from time to time people going, hey, I started playing around with the cost accounting module and I am not sure exactly what I'm looking at or what this is supposed to be doing. Can you call me? And we basically say, yeah, stop what you're doing. It is not relevant for your business here in the United States.
So hard shot on that one.
Yeah.
Double shot. All right. Last up, which is brew of integrations. This person's asked to integrate a small, unknown third-party tool with Business Central just for a one-off project. Would this person proceed, even if it requires bending a few best practices? So you're in a company, you're in charge of a project or whatever. Somebody else says we need to implement this for this one-off project, but it doesn't line up with best practices.
Yeah.
Do you?
Again, this is kind of more of a non-business central question, but more of like an internal management and oversight type question.
Oh, I got it.
Who's asking you to do this? Like if someone, right? I would look at it and be like, this is not a good idea.
Let's just say it's your colleagues, the people that you're working with, you're, not like your upper management or whoever it may be, just somebody who's on the same level as you, same tier.
There's a shot that they're going to try to do it,
Okay.
but there's also a good shot that they're going to end up calling their partner
Right.
after a while going, hey, what do you think? And the partner's going to go, you're going to do what?
Right.
You're going to try to do what now? And maybe hopefully talk some sense into them if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, is there really a huge downside to integrating, let's say, an app into your Business Central that you don't know too much about? Right? Couldn't you always just uninstall it?
You could, but I mean, you should do that in a sandbox first. So you're in a sandbox environment, install the app, understand what it does, how it works, right? Make sure that ISV it's a reputable. I mean, Microsoft does a lot of certifications to get through App Source. Yeah. So if it's on App Source, it's most likely a good, viable solution. But does it do what you want it to do? I mean, you should never deploy anything into your production environment until you've an app or an extension, custom extension, until you have tested it and verified it in a sandbox.
Yeah. I think for this question, if they were talking about an app, I think that it's a shot, right? People are like, I'll take the shot, I'll go for it, whatever. But
in a production environment?
Yeah, I think it's more common than I think it's both are bad, right? But I think you're better off doing the app than a custom extension into the production environment.
Yeah.
Right? Because the extension could mess a lot of things up.
Right. It's possible if you don't know exactly what it does, for sure. Yeah.
All right. There it is.
Most were shots, right? I came up with a couple no shots.
Most were shots, yeah. Yeah, I think five or 6 out of 8 were shot. So we'll have to, talk to AI next time, tell it to do better, come up with some shots.
I chalk up the shot to people's endeavoring spirit of wanting to try new things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And innovate.
Right.
Innovate? Is that the right word?
Yeah. Everybody's internal Elon Musk. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 67, I believe it is.
Yeah, we
Of
gotta
Business
rate,
Central and Beer.
rate this beer.
Yeah, that's right. We gotta rate the beer. I'll go first if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I think the beer has wonderful notes when it's being smelled. I think the taste is really good. To me, it does have a little bit of a bitterness taste to it, right? Where I think if it didn't have that bitterness taste, it would project it into the upper echelon of beers that I really, really like to drink. So I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go 84. Solid 84 for me.
Good. It's kind of funny. I'm looking at your ranking for Zombie Dust was also 84.
Was it?
Also an American Pale Ale.
Here you go. And I don't cheat. I'm just kidding.
What are you saying?
Nothing.
All right. And I am also, I do enjoy this. And I'm actually on the fence. So I'm thinking 90, and I'm looking at all of my previous scores. And I also gave Corona a 90. And I think I do. I think you're right. I think I enjoy this as much as I enjoy Corona, like maybe different moods or different days or times of year where I would like each of them. But I do like each of them equally. I'm going to go 90.
Wow. It's a high rated beer for you, Ken.
It is. It's my 4th highest rating.
And you wouldn't put this above. I don't think we've ever had on the show the juicy whatever the big sister is to this.
Yeah. Oh, Son of Juice.
Son of Juice.
We
I
have
think
not.
we've ever- yeah.
No,
Would you
not
put
had
this
that.
lower
I would-
above it?
I would probably put this above it
Oh, really?
because the Son of Juice is it's like a big brother to this,
Yeah.
right? So if you like these flavors and everything, it's like more powerful, right? It's maybe a little bit higher ABV, I think, a little bit more bitter, a little bit more sweet.
Really?
Kind of, it has a little bit more
Like
everything.
in your face with everything. I got you.
And I prefer the
Toned down version.
little bit more toned down version of those same flavors. Yeah.
Still very high rating. Very high.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes this episode of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer. Do us a favor, like the episode, share with your friends and all that good stuff. Ken, take us home.
Bye.
As we end today's podcast, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who listens, shares this podcast, and leaves us reviews. You've taken a good amount of your time out of your day, and we truly appreciate it. Thanks again. And don't be afraid to email us at marketing@solsyst.com with your tips for the podcast, or maybe you'd even like to be a guest during an episode.